Hey, what's going on? This is Roniboney, Halo Talk Episode 8 with Weapons Grade.
What's going on, guys? Weapons Grade. Today we have a special guest, Favyn. Mr. Favyn, what's going on, man?
What's going on, my dude?
It's good to see you, man. We haven't had a talk since it's been a while here.
I know. It's been crazy. I semi-retired, and then I came back, and the video I came back with did pretty good, and it reinvigorated me ever so slightly. So I am becoming more active.
It was very good. Your Infinite Disappointment, or what was it, 6 years in the making disappointment video, that was really, really good, man. Really
thank
good.
you.
Your individual weapon breakdowns I really enjoyed as well.
I appreciate that.
Shed a lot of light for me as well. So we're here again. Halo
service
Infinite.
without the service. That always stuck out to me.
Yeah, it's a great title. So I think we're going to go through a couple of topics, and I think the first one to start off on is the expected failure of Halo Infinite, because personally I've seen this coming a long time. It's just the trend. It's the language that 343 uses. That a lot of people are copped onto it now, the corporate language. And obviously just whatever we've gotten the last few years has been so subpar that I didn't understand how anyone could really be hopeful for this. It was completely subjective hope rather than objective based on evidence that they were seeing in front of them. So that's I think that's something important to point out. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, for the most part, from what I saw, people were saying, they would ignore anything coming into Halo Infinite. You know, we saw the reveal, we saw everything that they were introducing, and there were a lot of issues that people had that I think were just brushed away for the fact that the game was free to play. The game was new to a lot of different people this time. If you remembered, Halo 5 had the lowest sales in Halo history, according to numerous sources, actually. So when you come in having the game free to play, you're bringing in this, as they say, the broader audience. The broader audience didn't understand exactly how bad 343 were at the time. So I think, at least in my opinion, I think they kind of use that to sort of hide their history with Halo 4 and Halo 5. And then that's how we've kind of got to where we are now. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, or...
I mean, there's a lot there that's loaded. Favyn, what do you think? What's your view?
Well, I don't know what you could look at in their past to go into any project that they're working on with a tremendous amount of confidence. You know what I mean? Like, basically from the moment they started, it's either been just a strictly negative situation or at best like an incredibly divisive game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Halo 4 multiplayer, obviously that ain't it. People, you know, and I think this is part of just the positive sandwich that we see all the time in this community, where it's just like, to give a negative feedback, you have to say something is bad or say something is good. I'm sorry. And they never elaborate. There's never any like detail. There's never any like actual, hey, here's what's good about it. It's just like, oh, you know, the story, amazing, but that multiplayer just wasn't it. And then in Halo 5, right, same shit. There's like, yeah, the campaign's absolutely garbage, and it's so unfortunate because it might have the best gameplay in the series. You know, you hear this, you've been hearing this for years and years, and now we're at Infinite, and the big new one is, you know, yeah, the game's awful and it sucks because, man, it just has such a great foundation.
But the gameplay, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like every year, it's this caveat and this forced positivity because there is so much negativity. And yeah, like you go into a debate class and they'll tell you, hey, don't be negative all the time, because people aren't going to hear you. But now I think we're giving positivity where maybe it's not even due, just because we're trying to say something. I don't know if that directly tied off of Weapons Grade, but you know,
that was perfect, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. I don't know if you guys have recently seen this whole yappening event. I haven't logged on to play it, but over Twitter, everyone, and Reddit and Halo Waypoint, it's finally a win for 343. But I don't call the bare minimum of giving us Halo gameplay that, and a lot of this is intangible, and it's one of the arguments I've been making for years, is that as the community has basically shed itself or shed its skin of older veteran players who are just sick of this, new people have come through, and they've never seen what a real Halo experience is, like a supported Halo experience from launch throughout. I suppose it's death as well, so 2 and 3. Seeing that, being alive, and seeing that, and growing up with those experiences, I know what a real Halo experience is, and to use that phrase, "this ain't it, cheap," it really ain't it, and that's I think that's where the passion comes from. And sometimes it has to come across extremely critically because, again, it's intangible. Like, why I'm frustrated. If someone doesn't understand it, I just can't explain to them. You just don't get it. And it's not trying to be negative or insulting. It just is what it is. I feel so old even saying that. It's one of those respect your elder kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
One thing that I'm sorry, Favyn. Go ahead.
Oh, no, by all means.
Okay. One thing that really bothered me about people discussing whether Halo Infinite's good or bad, they always say the gameplay is good, like you said, when we're talking about issues with the game, but really that's a subjective opinion. The gameplay is good. The gameplay is good. To me, that's not enough to go off of saying, like, why is the gameplay good?
You can usually debunk that whole thing, like oh man, the gameplay's so good. Like, all you have to do is say, what's good about it?
Yeah, okay.
And like they usually don't have like are the maps good? No, the maps are pretty freaking boring. Is the sandbox design, like, if they'll probably say, the sandbox is great, everything's viable, and it's like, this is one of the worst sandboxes I've ever played in a
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's atrocious.
There's nothing special about it.
I don't care, like, they're all useful and they sound beefy and they're chunky and but it's like, okay, well, like, when you actually break it down though and see the effect that it's having on the game, which I did, and I'm not going to repeat it because you can watch my video, but it's really not that good.
No.
The sandbox not good, the weapons aren't good, you're shooting at people that in reality are 2 rooms away. I don't know how this could be considered a good gameplay foundation.
They've never had good weapons at all.
It is that all of the mechanics are useful, and we're in a situation, or you're useless, right? Where it's like, oh man, sprint's useless, thank God, and we're praising it. It's like there's mechanics in the game, and we're so fucked up that we're praising them for not being good, which is just bizarre to me.
Yeah, and the mechanics themselves, I feel like, they're about the same. You got the extra added equipment and all that, but I've made this personal opinion, like, even the equipment itself compared to Halo 3 is a step, I think, in the not wrong direction, but it's just different. I feel like the equipment in Halo 3 was better, or at least better suited for utility, right? Yeah. Whereas I'm at least like a higher level Halo. I was a higher level Halo Infinite player, and I'd get to the point where I'm running around with a thruster pack and the grapple, and I feel like I'm not even playing Halo sometimes. I feel like I'm swinging around playing Apex Legends. So I feel like I feel like Halo's lost its identity. Halo doesn't know what it is anymore, and you have a 343 doesn't know what, in my opinion at least, what Halo is anymore.
I feel like they're afraid to be innovative. They look at the COD formula. Like, COD copied its own formula for forever, essentially, with a couple of nuances here and there. I think that they're afraid of backlash from Halo players saying, well, you just copied Halo 3 or you just copied Halo 2. But that's what most people want. Really, if you brought it back down to it, what would actually sell, what would keep players there? A Halo game, like a real Halo game. Not this, they're adopting new mechanics from each market game. I've said loads of times, they follow market trends. The shoulder charge from Destiny implemented that into a Spartan ability. Yes, they have this grappling hook. Now it's Titanfall and it's Apex, and it's stop copying other games and just make a Halo game, which is one of the most successful franchises in the world. How can you not understand what formula made it great? What mechanics made it great?
And to build off what you guys were saying, as far as they don't know what Halo is. Nobody knows what Halo is. Like, the problem is the community now doesn't know what Halo is, because our opinions have been so shattered that we're giving feedback now where I listen to it and it's like, man, it's like you're on my side in that we both think this is bad, but your solution is not it, So we're just so messed up as far as what the foundation of the game is, and that we're struggling to even give feedback. Not only does like 343 struggle to listen to feedback, but now I'm worried that because the game's been splintered and subdivided and every single project they work on is just completely different, scorched earth, let's do something completely new. So many different people have a different foundation of what Halo is, and even getting to like the nuts and bolts of it and really like saying, hey, this is what we need to get back to. We don't even have like a strong foundation of that anymore, which is really tough. You almost just have to have somebody like know what the fuck they're doing, that don't listen to anybody, don't try and appeal to anybody, just like know what you're doing and make it so other people can kind of reset themselves on it. And that's just a complete pipe dream, because that's probably not going to happen.
We need a Dave Filoni and John Favreau there. I suppose reinvigoration of Star Wars, because they are huge fans, has kind of brought Star Wars back to the limelight after the three really subpar films that came out in the last few years. And that's I believe the exact same thing that needs to happen with Halo. The TV show, did you guys end up checking that out? I'm laughing saying it because oh man,
I've just seen the highlights and stuff. I know about the scenes and
God, it was painful. It was quite painful, and apparently that's
the Halo show.
Yeah, the Paramount show. Yeah.
I actually haven't watched it.
Okay, well,
good.
Not even a single second. Like this is it, guys. Like I'm actually learning. Like this is going to hurt me. Don't do it.
Yeah, no, don't.
Younger me would have just not been able to help himself. Just like, oh, but it's Halo, you know. Right. Now, I don't. Like, it's getting easier to see Halo projects in the works and just be like, yeah, it's going to probably not be very good. And I'll just save my time on it. And, yeah, so I haven't seen the Halo show. You know, probably not going to talk shit about it, but I've seen some breakdowns that, yeah.
Yeah, it misses the mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of different plots that they could have chosen from, and to go ad lib and to retcon. Yeah. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, look at you guys. I think it's
funny that they got that girl in there, probably because having a CGI arbiter would be too expensive.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, since she's here, they might as well fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
it's funny because it's a complete aside.
That's basically the Arby.
Charlie Murphy is her name, and she's a big Irish actress over here.
Yeah.
And it's I'm kind of I'm sad that she was in that, because she's got much more talent than that.
Yeah. I truly cannot even say whether anybody in that show did a good job or a bad job. It just the plot itself. I'm like, you know what?
Right.
I'm not going to put myself in a position where I got to see that. And so, I mean, the good news is for everybody is that I'm not going to be talking shit about it, right? Because I haven't,
There you go.
I didn't see it.
Stay on the sidelines.
Right, exactly. I'm sitting out on that one.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is my uncle actually, he chimed in on, he was like, hey, did you see the Halo TV series? Because he knows about YouTube and how big I like Halo and stuff. And he was shocked. I said, no, I didn't see it, man. He's like, why not? You're a Halo fan. And I think that kind of sums up like my feelings on that. It's
you don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah, it's just I've been disappointed time and time again from 343. There's only so much disappointment you could take, man.
Yeah, that's yeah. And onto that, I think the next topic is kind of this next topic we can segue straight in from there. So 343's management, so current and future, and what really needs to happen. Because I see a lot of people saying like this, and I'm a hypocrite because I used the hashtag Fire343 tag in the title of my last video there. I'd been just like yourselves, just checked out completely, and then said, look, I have to say something very brief. So I did the other day, and I used the tag. But I don't think I like the tag that it's trending and it's bringing more awareness from mainly the wider gaming community are pushing for this, because the Halo community really can't seem to fight for themselves anymore. I don't believe that actually getting rid of the company or dissolving the company and giving it to anyone else is going to do anyone any good. I think they need to shuffle around upper management, and there's a lot of hard decisions that Microsoft need to make. But I think like throwing out the run-of-the-mill dev and that kind of thing, I don't think anyone's making that argument really.
I'm at
Joe
least
at his
glad to
desk.
see nobody's really being attacked. I feel like it's all, you'll hear some names, Bonnie Ross. Why isn't Phil Spencer getting down there and cracking whips and stuff and telling people to get to work? But
he's probably the one that told her to do it. Like, let's be absolutely real here. Like, who do they answer to? They answer to Microsoft's upper management. Right. So it's a systemic problem from top to bottom of the structure.
I feel like when you break it down and you look at it under a fine lens, they're all connected. The issue isn't just Bonnie Ross. I mean, I think she's a big part of the issue, and I feel like she lacks any accountability. I saw, and I'm black, so I don't know if you guys heard about the Bonobos thing going on. I guess they did a title update, and she publicly apologized for what it was like the first time in years, all because bonobo means monkey, and it released on. So I feel like they need to communicate more and start at least apologizing and recognizing, showing to the community, hey, we understand that we are not doing a good job, but I feel like they feel as though they are doing just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the, whoa, fire Bonnie Ross, fire Bonnie. I don't even know what Bonnie Ross does.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the thing. It's like, yeah, like I guess you could say maybe she puts people in charge, and maybe the people who she's put in charge haven't gotten it done. But at the same time, I think most people would look at Joe Staten, who's in charge now, and be like, well, we got to give this guy a shot. It's obviously not Joe's fault, who came in about the time the game was originally supposed to come out. So, it's the Fire 343 thing. I'm with you guys as far as, like, it's cool that the message is being spread beyond the Halo community, that Halo is not in good shape. Now, the problem is when you have something like that inflammatory, it just, this slew of defenders that are already sitting there defending this company for what they've done, it's just like, oh, you just want everybody to lose their job. You have no empathy. Like, this is not that serious. So in that sense, it's not like the best hashtag, but I do like that the fact that people are noticing that there's a problem in Halo right now.
Fire 343 to me just says, let's hold somebody accountable for this mishap that's going on.
That's exactly what I think it is. Yeah.
Please, can somebody come out to the front stage and just say, even if they just said what's going on and why this happened.
Yeah.
Be clear, concise, and communicate with the community about what in the hell happened to one of the gaming's greatest gaming franchises of all time. Yeah. This isn't a regular gaming. This is Halo, man.
They can't though, man. Like they'll lose their shareholders, their stock will plummet. They can't. Like, and I think the community needs to understand that they can't. This has to happen very quietly. I would say now, I'm going to put a bet down in about, because we've put down bets before on this talk and we've been right, 6 to 9 months down the line. But I think there'll be some people with 6 to 9 months from now saying, well, my time has ended. I've loved this. They'll post their, obligatory, corporate, goodbye speech saying, I love it. I'm moving on to better and brighter things. I love my team. And that will be our way of knowing that, like, this absolutely will have repercussions internally. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, this is like an external customer complaint. So there's going to have to be corrective and preventative actions put in place here. This will go noticed, but this is something that they can't just absorb and take on the chin and be honest about. I mean, this is a corporate world. Like, there's no fucking way that's going to happen. It will happen 6 to 9 months down the line, maybe even a little bit longer down the line, that they'll do a reshuffling just so it won't be noticed. Like, it can't be tied to a certain event time frame. Everyone went crazy on the internet for about 2 weeks about Halo, and then 1 week later, the upper management are gone. Like, it's, they can't send that strong a signal that we can actually make changes that way. Like, and maybe I'm just being pessimistic on that, but I've been in the corporate world for a while now, and I think I'm right.
Yeah, and being in the corporate world, you already kind of know, like, just how when there's a problem, it's almost like spread out through like 800 different divisions, and it just like dissolves basically, because it's impossible to truly pinpoint. Like, saying Fire 343, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
like Fire the contractors who are already gone, fire the hundreds of employees who have already turned over. Like there is no consistent 343. It's like this it's like this liquid, constantly moving,
Yeah, it's a pipe
constantly
dream.
shifting, revolving door that has different personnel from month to month, year to year. So, who do you get rid of? People are already leaving, and then you say, well, it's the leadership. Well, the leadership's left. Think of all of the big leadership personnel that has left in the past 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And then you think, oh, well, it's Bonnie Ross. And then you don't even know what Bonnie Ross does, right? And it's like, well, she puts people in charge. Well, she has Joe Staten in charge right now, and most people think that that's who you'd want. Well, it's Microsoft's fault. Well, Microsoft gave them more time than they've given any other Halo game, and then they delayed it a year after launch and allowed them to miss the launch of their new console. I felt like that was pretty reasonable at a surface level as far as Microsoft is concerned. So it's really hard to actually pinpoint like, oh, this is the problem. So, instead of, oh, fire 343, really we just need like a hashtag save Halo, like please God somebody.
Exactly.
Because that's what needs to happen. I can't pinpoint like, hey, this is the problem and that's how we fix it. I just can look at the result and see a decade worth of less than subpar Halo games that are divisive at best, and for a franchise that was a perennial game of the year contender, we deserve better than that. It deserves better than that.
I think their internal structure is something that needs to definitely be looked at and changed massively. Like this contractor culture for certain businesses, let's say like accounting firms, law firms, that kind of thing works. It really does work, and it's tried and tested. For game development, where you need someone in that's, again, it's that word, like you're learning intangible skills about the engine that has been developed by someone else. So by the time that you've learned all you need to know about the engine, it could be 12, 13, 14 months. Well, you're gone in 4 months. And then someone has to be retrained on this. So their entire contractor culture, not wanting to give people permanent contracts, because one, that means that comes with a whole host of packages, like benefits, healthcare, dental. It's a price tag it's an extra price tag for a permanent salary on top of benefits. So the overall cost is massive. So if they can, nickel and dime their actual people inside, their employees in there, well then, from a business standpoint, from an economical standpoint, it makes perfect sense on paper. But in reality, we've seen the fruits of that labor. Or lack of labor now, that good people are leaving and moving on to other franchises where they're getting permanent contracts where they can actually develop their skills out, develop the games out. And that's, if you look at it's all in the Glassdoor. Like we have looked at this before, that the Glassdoor reviews of 343 are abysmal. And a lot of people will toss that aside and say, oh, well, that's just disgruntled employees. No, this is really, the Glassdoor is great because it tells you from the lowest common denominator what they think, what they truly think about the company from an anonymous point of view. So it's a confidential agreement, really, on Glassdoor that you can say whatever you want to say within reason about the company and just let your voice be heard. And reading those reviews it scares me. And it's led to this game state. Around the time of Infinite, I was reading the reviews before it came out. And I knew straight away, like, look at this. Like, this is incredibly mismanaged here.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about it like that. That's a good point, where you're combining temporary contract work with what is basically a proprietary engine that's kind of self-contained to just this one franchise, where you can't really get crazy good or crazy skilled at it if you're going to be moving on, which is not this case if you're using something like Unreal.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember the Slipspace engine deal, where they came out and basically announced, the Slipspace, the new engine, and they shut off that little trailer CGI. But then really after that, we didn't really hear anything else about Slipspace or its benefits, its physics, why it's better than or improved upon the last Halo engine. From what I gathered from the Glassdoor reviews, is essentially a lot of contract work, like you guys were saying, was put onto the Slipspace engine. So you had essentially a situation where people who were coming in and out, that revolving door, like you guys said, working on the heart of the Halo engine and then leaving. And then you have other people coming in. And because of how difficult those tools are, from my understanding, it's not like Unreal Engine. It's a lot more difficult to work with. So when you have like you guys said, all those people coming in, not really knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It can.
And that's why management is being held. I think a lot of people don't understand why they're even saying, like, we need to hold management accountable. I'm a manager. I have to get work done through other people. And I have to identify key people that I can have on my team that will be able to get the work done consistently, that I can eventually evolve into something else, into their own manager. So that is what's missing there. That if they're not taking people on temporary contract work as full-term employees, salarying them, giving them all the benefits that Microsoft as a behemoth MNC can give them, then this is what happens. You know, this is the feedback that their own employees are going to give about them. When they put so much in, as you said, to a proprietary engine, it's not Unreal Engine 6, it's their own engine, and you have to learn different things about it and nuances and how to navigate it. And it's a skill that can only be learned by doing. So you have to keep those people in those positions, and you have to sweeten that deal for them, because if they leave, just not to swear too much on this, but you're fucked if they leave, and that's what we've seen.
Yeah. Microsoft's biggest studio that is making their flagship IP should be a destination, not a stepping stone. That's 343 should not be, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go work on Halo for a little bit. No, that should be a studio where like you work your entire ass to get the opportunity to be there, in my opinion.
That should be the end game.
The tipping top of the mountain.
Like, I work on Halo.
I need to boost my resume up. Get the word Halo on my resume real quick. Let's get
that is your resume if you jump somewhere else. Like if you eventually want to go somewhere else. 8 years I worked on Halo. Like everyone who worked at Bungie in those days, if you were able to say, well, I worked on Halo. Whoa, my God, like throw as much money as this guy wants and throw 30 grand on top of that to make sure we secure this deal, because we want that person. And that's what has actually happened with former Bungie employees. They were snapped up so quickly. So the way people say the Bungie now is not the Bungie of old. That's true. However, whoever has still remained at Bungie, their core management, their upper management, maybe they were just a tech at the time. Now they've moved up to manager, maybe even a director role, a supervisor role. They understand how to get people coming back month on month, year on year. And there's still something there that they understand about the average gamer, about the mindset and the mentality. And that's why Bungie, after Destiny being a faceplant for a while, has been able to turn that completely around. And it's the 5th or 6th most played game on Steam now? That doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
Just a small tangent.
Total embarrassment. just comparing it to Halo's numbers too now. It's sad.
I think it's 300k people playing Destiny at any one time. That's huge.
Yeah. So I think we hit the nail on the head, manager-wise, 343 and their current and future. What about the Halo community and their role in the game state? It's from what I've noticed, the Halo community, it's loud right now.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely loud. It's the energy. You can definitely feel people are upset. They want action. They want something done. What do you guys think the community can do going forward to sort of foster the best scenario going forward with Halo and 343?
Favyn, I've talked enough. This is you can lead this one.
What can they do to foster? They could learn from the past for once in their goddamn life, where every time this studio's ever had something where you get your hopes up, there's been a caveat. And I think, like, even just taking this recent example, last week we were saying, fire 343, hashtag fire 343. Everybody was up in arms. And then they post, one video on Forge, and it's like everybody's back on, and everything's going to be great again. Right. And we have this really bad tendency to just have this
Stockholm
kind
syndrome,
of like unnatural desire to be hopeful for something that has constantly let you down. Mm-hmm. And it'd be I get it being hopeful, but to be hopeful for a game franchise that has for 10 years just floundered and struggled, it's kind of like, I think we should be in a position where we need them to prove it to us.
Right.
You know, like instead of,
Agreed.
let's give them the benefit of the doubt. No, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Like they gotta prove it. They gotta win us back, and we're way too quick to just hop right back on the hype train. And it ends up embarrassing you, right? Because if you're a content creator and they say something that's good and you just go gung ho and then it shits itself again, it's like, how many times are you going to, how many times are we going to do that before, credibility goes out the window? And
I kind of touched on this before. The mantra sort of when Halo Infinite was coming out, with being free to play, it kind of felt unsinkable. This game is not going to fail. It can't. It's free to play. There's no way that a free to play Halo in 2022 can ever fail, regardless of what 343 put out there. And how wrong were they?
Surprise!
It wasn't really a surprise though.
You do actually have to try to appeal to fans and create a good content. You can't just slap the word free to play. You can't just do what everybody else is doing with the battle pass and the microtransactions and then expect things to go like Fortnite. It's just insane to me.
I think you made a good point, Favyn, in one of your videos. I can't remember which one, but you said people were going crazy about Halo, even though it's free to play and it has 10% of its content offerings.
Yeah,
people are still going crazy about it. I think that shows that there's such a revered love for Halo. For Halo's lest we forget, Halo really kick-started online gaming, especially console online gaming in the competitive ways. But in regards to social gaming, Halo was it. It was the pinnacle. So it has such a rich history, such a golden game. It's just we're living off past fumes here at this point. We have to just look at what's in front of us and be objective and say this is not how this should be handled. It needs more. Like the content offerings at launch were ridiculous. Not having Team Slayer was completely just ridiculous. As soon as I saw that, I went, oh no, oh god no. Shadow dropping the game, god no. It's too little. I personally think it's too little, too late. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I just don't see this ever coming back from the damage that has been done to it. And I think the community have a lot to really answer for. And a lot of people in the community have a lot to answer for their consistent, just positive mindset and not allowing any sort of criticism to come through. And whenever they do, they check themselves. You ever seen those people apologizing about their tweets being real and truthful on Twitter? Saying, I'm sorry about yesterday. That wasn't me. And it was you though. And thank God, I love seeing people finally just break when they're trying to put some kind of a professional veil on themselves. It's not professional. It's Halo. Like, it's a game.
People always start off, they say, let me start off by saying that I love 343 and this and that. But
damage control before they try.
Yeah, it's like, let's just be honest with ourselves. What do we have in front of us? Let's just say it and let's get the job done so we can get the results.
To be fair, as a content creator, right? The reason I sometimes do stuff like that, where I'm like, hey, just letting you know, I like 343, cool guys, whatever. It's not even necessarily to like defuse 343 themselves. It's more so to stop the thousands of comments I know I'll get from just the community members that are so quick to defend them. You almost have to disarm them right at the start, or else they'll just completely flood your comments and just steer the conversation in a completely different direction, right? If you don't say, hey, I don't want anybody to be fired, they're gonna come at you with, well, you need to be empathetic. These are real people. These are lives, and it's bro, like we're talking about a game, dude. Like I'm not trying to get anybody fired here. I'm just saying the game's not very good. So you almost have to diffuse it, unfortunately. I wish I could just, say what I want to say without people accusing me of wanting people to lose their jobs and their lives and fall into a state of depression. It's just ridiculous, but it's really common out there right now, unfortunately.
It's such a weak argument as well. They're people too. And well, no shit. Like, of course they're people too. But accountability is something just that's so real in life. You have to be held accountable. If I screw up my job, you better believe I'm held accountable. I'd be put on a 6-month review. I'd have to double my efforts and prove myself. Now I don't do that because there's the fear of being fired, even when you're doing a great job. I don't feel like there's any accountability And the Halo community don't hold them accountable at all. Like, they feel sorry for them. It's
You know what's hilarious though?
what?
I guarantee you there are tons of people at 343 that are actually there like, please, you guys, please fucking say something. Like, they're not happy with it. You know, they're not sitting there going, oh, you don't like my game? You don't like it? No, it's like they're sitting there going like, yeah, we're not happy with the situation either. Like, we're struggling. Like, we need something to happen.
We need
like,
resources,
we want to go in a different direction. You know, everyone's like, oh, look at all these people who quit. Like, they probably got sick of being shit on. It's like, they probably got sick of the game. You know, like, I think there's more people there. And I talk to 343 employees, past, present, where they're just like, yeah, it's frustrating sometimes. They're also in the same boat because they love Halo too. It's not like they start working there and all of a sudden their standards for what a Halo game is changes.
Just dropped.
They still have high standards too, you know?
Yeah, no, I did a module recently, work sent me to do one on change management and change control. One of the main things that I learned from that, one of the main outcomes was change management and change control has to happen very, very quickly. You have to pull people along. You have to be quite forceful with how you do it. And it runs on something called plan, do, check, act. Plan out what you're going to do. You have to do it straight away. Check it continuously as you're going. Then you repeat, you act, you repeat the entire cycle again and again. And I've started being able to pick apart just some of these press releases that it doesn't, and comparing them to their previous press release. And it doesn't seem like they do any of this. They just carry they're just kicking the football down the line. That's all it is.
Right.
It's the same issues just keep reappearing. And in my line of work, you get fired fast if you have something that's continuously going for a week or two. Like, what, you can't fix this? Okay, well, we're done with you. It's insane to me that a company that's this well resourced, and as you said, the flagship IP for Microsoft, the pinnacle of what you should be reaching towards in game development, can carry the football on every single update, can delay things on the roadmap. And the community just says, that's fine, like, we love that you guys are, kind to us on Twitter. And it's insane. It's insane. Yeah. You have to be held accountable.
Thanks for the transparency.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the transparency. It's still not good enough. You can tell the truth and still be held accountable. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I real quick just wanted to add to, because we were talking about the Halo community, and I just wanted to say how soulless sometimes Halo Infinite would feel, just with its lack of social features. The UI, the fact that there's no post-Carnage lobby where you can talk with people about. I feel like the Halo community looks back at those moments in game chat, in lobbies, in those interactions, and they kind of hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts. Yeah. And I feel like that is missing entirely. Yeah. And that whole social fun aspect. My one friend, he's a social player by heart. He's terrible at first-person shooters. I asked him, why don't you like Halo Infinite? He says, it feels too much. It feels too hard. It feels too competitive. And I'm like, that it makes sense. With skill-based matchmaking, with every single mode sort of tailored to, you need to win in order to get this reward and these challenges. It kind of changed the way the community plays the game compared to beforehand. And I just wanted to kind of touch on that.
That's a good point. Like, I've been going to hardcore shooters. I'll name drop a few of them now, because Squad and Hell Let Loose. They're squad-based military shooters, and everybody uses their mic. Everybody uses their mic. You have 3 different voice channels. If you're an officer, you can hear the command chat. Everybody, though, if you're just a regular infantryman, you can hear local chat. You can hear your squad chat. Everybody's talking. Everybody's communicating. The first time I jumped into one of these games, I fell in love with them because it felt like the way Xbox Live did before party systems took over and everyone was in their parties and no one really spoke in game. It felt like a COD lobby at sometimes. Right. It's where everyone's kind of talking smack to each other, that kind of thing. I know we did that one time, Weapons Grade. We went online trying to get footage of just people talking in lobbies, even on the other team, in Halo. And it kind of brought a little bit of that back for me when we did
Right.
that, but these types of games, they get it. Like, then they have very niche but very dedicated communities for that reason. They consistently get updates. They're well supported. And it's, if anyone, I'm putting this in here just because I absolutely understand the point that you're making about it feeling like a ghost town. And if people are looking for those types of experiences, it is in the more hardcore shooters, especially on PC, but hell, I think now is on PS4, PS5. It's in those hardcore shooters where I've found you can relive those types of moments. So just thank you for allowing me that little segue there.
Yeah. Do you agree, Favyn?
Yeah, I think I said, and it was probably
The
like 6 or 7
isolating
years
feeling
ago.
that it gives
Yeah.
you, just yeah.
I think I said if you could put thriving community on the back of a box, it would be like one of the best features you could have. Everybody wants to feel like they're a part of something. They'll play a bad game if they feel like they're a part of something. You know, and I think that's kind of the effect that we're talking about here. And when you have those kind of hardcore games that Roniboney's talking about, these games that are so different and distinct, and it's like the type of games that you'd pitch to a AAA developer and they'd go, oh, well, you know, I just don't think that the modern gaming audience is going to appreciate these things. It feels a little, you know, hardcore, it's probably scare them away. You know, these are the things that when you get them into the hands of people, and yeah, maybe a little at first they're like, well, what's going on? But they learn to appreciate them. And they offer something that's distinct, and they kind of conjure up that passion.
Yes, that shared sense of passion.
You're right. And they evangelize it, and they're like, hey, you got to play this game. They're like, oh, nobody says, oh, you have to play Halo Infinite, right? But, you know, Hunt Showdown, I see getting thrown around.
I love
a lot.
Hunt, man.
You know, everyone's talking about that one. I mean, Elden Ring is the perfect example because that blew up, and that's a hardcore game. That's like
we've been playing multiverses,
you know,
the fighting game.
I think Siege is a good example where that's a really kind of inaccessible game at the start, but it has such a passionate community, or at least it used to. It's kind of, you know, a little troublesome right now.
Quite watered down.
Yeah. Right now it's in a little bit of a rough spot, but historically it's been a game where they're like, I'm going to play this with you because I want you to experience this. And if you have a game that, you know, resonates with players to such a degree that they're literally trying to find every single friend possible to share the experience with, really, that's what Halo used to be. That's why split screen used to be so powerful, because they're like, please play this game. Here's a controller.
You make a great point, because now, like, Halo it's not really a fun place to play with friends. Like, if anything, for me, I find that it's harder to play Halo Infinite with friends than it is without.
Yeah. I think SBMM is a lot
I run
to
into
blame
issues. Yeah, I run into issues. I run into my one friend won't even play with me because, oh, the skill-based matchmaking is too hard, man. I feel like I can't get any kills with you.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's and I know that's a whole issue in gaming in general, right. But it's when it comes to Halo was the complete opposite of that.
It's like they forgot that they had clans in Halo 2. That was huge. I was in one called The Morning After Phil, and it was absolutely brilliant. So I made some great friends. That kind of led on all the way through Halo 3, Halo 4. I went to one of their weddings in 2017 in Oregon. I took the trip across the pond. So it's these things, like, they promote like true human experience. Just not to get real kind of emotional about that, but like that's really what they did. And I think that's why a lot of us are so passionate about the criticism side of Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agreed. And I think that easily takes us to talking about Forge and everything else coming into Halo's future. I just wanted to say, I know everybody's, you know, typically hopeful. I know they just released that little that Forge video and indicating like what's coming into the future and stuff. But I just wanted to say I really question whether Forge, whether all these things coming into the game, are they really going to come at the same time? You know, are they going
longest beta ever? Weapons.
Yeah, they say there's so many questions I have, man, and there's so many concerns I have. You know, just being a beta, right? Why do we have a Forge beta 2 years after the game's been released? Shouldn't it just
so that
be
when it fucks itself and shits its pants, people can say, well, it's just a beta. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah. I've come, what I've done, anytime 343 gives a date, this game mode is releasing here or there, I add automatically an extra week or month to whatever they're saying, because I already know whatever they're saying, it's just probably not going to happen. That's how bad 343 are to me. It's terrible, man. And I feel like people are using Forge and everything as a sort of, like you guys said, a false hope that Halo's going to come back. But can Forge really bring Halo back in the state that it's in now? Is that fair to ask?
I don't think it can, but like if you're looking at features to prioritize right out the gate, Forge and customs are, in my mind, are probably the most important. You know, I would rather Forge and customs over theater mode coming to the game because of what they can add to the game. Like it's giving people, especially a free to play game. My God, imagine they had done that. You know, like saying co-op campaign and theater mode are going to be delayed, and we're going to release custom games and we're going to release Forge. It's look at people who just build shit in Minecraft. Like people will just sit around just building maps all day. Being able to create in a Halo game was something that was it was something so amazing when they dropped that with Halo 3, and especially with Reach with Forge World. So I think that ties back in with our earlier points about them not really understanding the lifeblood of what Halo is and what the potential of Halo, that this is. I think those two features, anyway, I'm just going to digress. Those are the two most important features for me.
Very, very important, yes. But what I'm saying too is, how many times have they been delayed? You know, these very two important features. They should have been in the game day one.
And with Halo 5, they were delayed as well. Let's not forget that.
Right. And it's just so unfortunate. Imagine if we had Forge and a custom game browser right when Halo Infinite released. Imagine how many more people would be playing right now, posting videos on YouTube about their maps. And now we are only looking forward to the second delay of Forge? Yeah. And then it's just a beta now.
Don't forget Machinima either.
Modern Warfare 2 is releasing in a month or November or whatever. It's almost as if how is all this stuff going to save Halo when it should have been there in the beginning, man. There's no way that I just don't see it. And I know this is a very pessimistic outlook. I do not see the content, whatever plan that they have. It's just so disappointing, man. There's so much more going on.
Imagine how Duquesne feels if this is how you feel compared to Ford. Because that guy built some great maps. Favyn, what do you think on this the whole Forge coming late?
I think I'm in complete agreement with you guys. I think Forge is like 100% needs to be prioritized for an at-launch feature.
Yeah,
because you need to get that thing in there when you're having the biggest influx of people coming into your game. Right?
Yes.
You can't, when you're sitting there at however many thousands people playing and you release a thing like Forge itself isn't what's going to attract, hundreds of thousands of people. They're not the building tool itself isn't the thing that is going to actually matter to them.
Yes.
It's the stuff that's made by that tool.
Yes.
It's the infrastructure.
You're right, Favyn.
Yeah.
I remember seeing articles even saying how Forge caters to a minority of the Halo community, but the custom games caters to the majority.
Correct.
So,
exactly.
Right. So, yeah. So, because I was a Forger at one time, and everybody would be like, "Dude, why are you making maps? You're weird."
Okay, but yeah, Forge caters to a minority. Yes, like some people become experts at forging. But okay, let's just throw it out here. Like Infection. There you go. Forge and Customs brothers. Griffball, Forge and Customs.
Right.
Actually forging caters to a very small subset of the community, but the wider community can enjoy that. And I think that's the point of having Forge in there at launch.
Right. That's I'm so glad you guys mentioned that, because if it was at launch, then they could focus on that. They can focus on how can we get the community to experience what Forge has to offer. From what I understand, Forge is just going to launch, and then You're gonna have people
file
releasing
share,
videos.
weekly highlights, the way they used to. I mean,
Yeah.
everything we're discussing, like, it feels so redundant at times. Like, not to be pessimistic here, but it's already been done. So all you need to do is just look at the past and look at the history of Halo, and that you have, it's right there. Like, the breadcrumbs are right there. Just follow them. It's really that simple. I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately stuff that we historically never spoke up about and never talked about because we never considered them to be things that were in jeopardy. Right? They were just like, oh, that's Halo. Yep. So, oh yeah, that you're doing now, that's not right. And then there's things like just taking Forge for granted and taking the infrastructure of custom games and the sense of community that it created that we all loved. The reason we were all here to begin with. Who'd have thought that like that was at some point going to be considered like not necessary to the franchise.
Yeah.
To the point where, where we're sitting here now with Halo Infinite, the free to play game. And it's like, oh, Forge custom games, building a sense of community. Nah, man,
not important. Yeah.
Not important.
Yeah. One of the greatest crimes I think I've ever done is getting rid of El Dorito. El Dorito was really great. Like, it was so short. Once it got traction on YouTube, it was short lived. I'd played that for 2 or 3 years before the 0.6 update. And that was amazing. Just having people forge their own maps and custom games and being able to have a proper server browser. That if everyone remembers here in this call, that was Halo Online, and when it was taken down from the Russian servers, it was.
I was able to play for a little bit.
It was really good.
Got the hammer. It probably was because they were intending to eventually move that stuff into MCC a little bit. So they were like, oh, we're going to use this stuff.
That's fair. They could have taken some pointers though from what the community had actually done.
Yeah, it's always painful. Like I'm not going to go on a tangent, but same thing with like Project M for the Smash community. That's one of my favorite like community made projects, and it got the axe too. It always sucks when the community works hard to build something based on their passion for something, and then that same thing they're passionate about comes and shuts them down.
Yeah, which is why it's so important to have mod tools enabled from the onset in most games. Like some of those games I was talking about, like Squad, look up a mod called Galactic Contention. It's an entire Star Wars mod in a tactical shooter. Yeah. So everything you wanted Battlefront to be, Battlefront 2, like from the actually like sweaty, really getting into these vicious battles kind of side of things that isn't cartoony or childish in any way. The community were able to mod that in, and it's 10 out of 10. There's no other way to say it. So giving mod tools, in my view, is one of the most important things you can give, because it gives people freedom. It's really that. Like, we had freedom in the previous Halo games. Bungie gave us a base game. These are the modes we like. Here's the campaign. This is, obviously you can't change that, but here's the campaign that we want you to see, and here's the multiplayer. Here's the modes that we have, and here's a canvas now for you to create whatever you want to create, and let's see what can you guys do better than us? They had no ego about potentially the community were able to make better modes and better maps than they could. And I think, to be honest, the community can, because who's going to put more hours in? A fan of the game sitting there for, 4 or 5 hours, like a couple of times a week, really enjoying the game, or, someone that's paid to do it, just looking at the clock, wanting to go home.
That's so funny. Like, who's going to put more hours? The people doing it in their spare time, or the people who are doing it for their career?
Yes. It is funny. It is funny, but when it comes to a game, the answer would be career, but you'd hope. But right. I mean, history has shown us that like there's people that have put like 400 hours into one map.
Yep.
And it's without being paid, and that's what could you hope for more as a developer? Like, it's, hey, you just built this great map and all these game types that are bringing people back to our game that, increases the viability for people to purchase the game. Hey, like, fair play, just, keep playing. We're just going to spotlight this guy for a week, and he's going to make another 2-3 maps potentially that could hit off. Like the guys that made Onslaught and, some of the Griftball maps and that kind of thing. Like, it's that came in as like a permanent double XP playlist during Halo 3's days. It was so popular.
Yeah. That's why it would have been so good to have it at the start.
Yeah.
Now we're nearly, it'll be a year by the time it gets here, but a year in and you have the population it does. It has to get here. then the content has to start flowing. Then the systems to sharing that content still have to be created.
Yeah.
343 doesn't really have like a highlight system or a Bungie's favorites type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like playlists set up to show what these Forge maps. So, it's even when it gets here, we'll probably lose a lot of people by the time that the good stuff starts
really
coming.
actually drifts in.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even have custom game options, really, like in the game. You can change the starting weapons and stuff. Yeah, the customs are crap.
343s, they're not being competitive enough right now. They're just...
It's all there, though. That's the thing. That's the frustrating thing, I think, that everyone in this call feels, that it's all there. It's all there. It's ripe. It's so ripe for the taking. And just take it, like, just take the market share. Halo has such a revered, people love it. Like, even people who hate Halo love Halo. That's the most, it's such a parallel. It's just ridiculous, like, thing to juggle in your head. Like, I love this franchise, I really do, but I hate what it's become, but I still love it. And it brings me back talking about it in these types of situations all the time.
It ties into a point you actually made earlier, Roni, about people kind of losing faith finally in the game. I think that as far as like this constant fervor, I'm involved in the community and I'm playing it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are losing that. I think basically all three of us are losing that, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's always going to be like this innate desire for a game like that. And we're basically going into what I consider like a standby mode. And I think there's millions of people in standby mode just waiting for Halo to get its shit together. And they're not active and they're not, but as soon as they see it peak, right? As soon as they see something, they're like, ooh, that might be good. They're ready. They're hopping in. You know, think of all the people that thought Infinite was going to be it in the greater community, and they played it and they're like, wow, okay, now I'm bored though. Like they're ready. They're ready. They want something like, Halo TV show, most watched show. Everybody hated it, but like they wanted it to be good. They watched it. So we're sitting here, we're ready for it. And even if we disappear into the void for a little bit, if it ever gets its act together, I promise you, we're coming back.
Oh yeah,
everybody's coming back.
Like you said, Favyn, live service without the service. I love that.
Yeah,
like you gotta, if you want to step up to the plate, you gotta be aggressive, right? Yeah. If you gotta show, and that they've done the complete opposite of that.
Yeah,
they're to me, it's just sitting back and just.
Around the time Spider-Man came out, like they had such a good opportunity there if they had custom game options for the grapple hook to create like a Spider Halo or something like that, or grapple rumble or something. They had a really good opportunity there.
You think about it in real life, like when you're losing in real life, what do? Do you just sit there and do nothing, or do you get your ass up and start moving any way you can to improve your situation?
Well, personally, that's what I do, but I'm not sure about the rest of the community.
Yeah,
that's what Cops and Robbers, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's the energy I want to see eventually from 3. We're moving and we want to boom, 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 boom. Okay, the community doesn't like that. Okay, boom, boom. Let's try to fix as many issues as we can, as just get it all done. But I just keep, when I hear the words beta and just.
There was a post that Axeman put up a few days ago on Twitter, and I had to chime in and agree with him that he said something about sometimes in order for something to turn your look around, you have to be willing to sacrifice, and that may at some points mean that you're working overtime, you're losing sleep, etc. And I think the phrase he used was at a sacrifice to your personal health, which maybe you can pick apart his words, but the general sentiment is something that I personally understand that absolutely. And I was chatting to him in PMs about, he was saying, does anyone think he would have gotten his channel remonetized if he had just sat idly by and just done like a 9 to 5 kind of thing? And I think really Halo needs that. They need to.
That's a great example. They
need to hire people, man, to sacrifice for this. They need people in there that are passionate and say, you know what, I want to stay an extra 2 hours and finish this. And come in the next day with a psychological win and gain momentum.
You could even say 343. You guys are already losing. What else do you have to lose?
Yeah, that's
right.
I mean, I'm sure Roni in management. I mean, I'm on management too, probably at a smaller scale. I'm more at just like a smaller level. But even at my level, like I bust my ass, dude.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
are you kidding me? I work overtime. I work 13 days in a row, a couple weeks ago, right? Like,
Yep.
now
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree from the standpoint that you don't want to just like overdo that, but there's always going to be times where it's like, hey, we got to kind of step it up a little bit. And as I think if the company has instilled trust in its employees, like when they ask me to do something like that, I'm like, I know you have my back in the long run.
Absolutely.
Okay. But yeah, if you're just shit and you're just like putting their nose to the grindstone 24/7 and there's no relief and like people are like breaking at the seams, then yeah, like that's a huge problem. But I think there is a little bit of give and take as far as like, hey, if you come through for us, we're going to come through for you. We're going to take care of you. And so on the flip side, if I got to take a half day, they're like, hey, no problem. We got you, like, oh, hey, I got to go take care of my son. No problem. We got, hey, in fact, they'll sometimes tell me, they'll be like, hey, you've been working hard. We're going to get you a day off here. So, if you have that kind of give and take, if you have that give and take, there's definitely going to be moments where like, yeah, I worked really hard and I went over my 40 hours for sure, like by a lot, but I trust that it's going to be paid back. And now corporate, they usually don't pay you back, but if you have a situation where they do, then, I do think there's a little bit of room for going above the 40 there. Like, oh shoot, I'm right in the middle of something, but
and like 60, 70 is like, I've had to pull that several times for weeks on end.
Yeah.
Like you're coming home with the laptop, you have enough time to sneak a workout in, make some food for yourself, then chill out for an hour or so before you go to bed. Look, you just get it done. Like I don't know how to,
right.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. There's nothing else I can say on that. Again, it's another one of these intangibles. And it's something that I believe Bungie back in the day, maybe it's a toxic work culture. Absolutely. Like, you're going to burn people out 100%. That's 100. I'm burnt the fuck out after these things. Like 3-4 weeks of that, you're gone for about 2 months. You're just running on nothing, like on 0% or 0.5.
I've seen people comment, they want to know what it's like being Bonnie Ross or a 343 employee right now. What it's like going into the office, knowing everything is falling apart, and you're just literally like, what is it like? It can't be good for your mental health to
no, it can't.
Come in every day and just wow. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. But it really is down to it goes back to the management. It's down to management to get the right people to drive the right outcome. And if the actual support's in place and the whole structure, again, back to that, like if the whole structure isn't conducive for that type of win when it comes to your product, then if you're going for production at all costs rather than quality at all costs, and that's very, very biased to me because I'm a quality manager. I believe quality at all costs is what you should go for. And we used to have that, and that was definitely the mentality. And you don't have to beat around the bush or research it just to figure out. You can just look at the products, the quality of the products coming out the door. That's really it. Mm-hmm. You have one chance to make a first impression, remember. So get that grind on, get in there, like get in the trenches, understand what the grievances of your people are, and start patching holes and start motivating people. If they see their leaders working, I can nearly guarantee this, that those people in upper management do not work as hard as their managers, their line managers, their supervisors, and then the run-of-the-mill technicians or workers on the floor. There's no way. Because if they did, they'd be able to drive that type of performance. Because it's inspiring. I had a great manager when I lived in Boston for 2 years. And he absolutely inspired me, man, to reach a new level. Just seeing this guy work as hard as he possibly could day in, day out. Stress just rolled off. LA traffic would roll off this guy's shoulders. It inspires people. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, when you see your supervisors go above and beyond and work their butt off, and when they recognize that you're doing it, that's definitely a motivating factor. Now, one problem that we're having, right, is with this whole the Fire 343 thing, and 343 is kind of perceived as a sinking ship right now, and it's a sinking ship that's also currently trying to get more sailors on it. And that's kind of a problem if you're a potential sailor out there. And are you looking to join 343 Industries right now? If you're an industry vet looking for a job, it's a little tumultuous. I think I phrased that right.
Yeah,
to hop on the boat, the Halo boat right now, which is kind of probably compounding the problem a little bit.
Oh yeah, there's leaks in the boat. Yeah. People have scurvy. It's You know, just to keep going with our pirate little sailor analogy here. Yar. Yeah, it's a sink. Look, it can be turned around though. Like I do believe that. I do believe that, and it really is just down to management. Either they need a kick in the ass, and it sounds bad, but people just have to accept it. Either that, or people need to be shuffled around and go and say their goodbyes, so that someone with the passion, the vision, and the energy, that's really important. It's the energy to do it, like, and it's the discipline. Like, you don't need to motivate people. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline does not let you down. Discipline carries you through the worst moments, your hardest moments where you're sacrificing, and you have to really put a grind in. And they need more disciplined managers in there. That inspires people to work harder. In my personal opinion.
The smoke right now, anybody that wants it right now, it's like, yeah, let's get him in here and interview him. Not necessarily for any position, right? Because if people are sitting here trying to get in when it's at its most down point, then that means they're probably pretty serious about the franchise, you know.
Yeah.
They're not looking to make a stepstone. They're thinking, let's get in here, let's fix this thing.
Like Joe Staten. Joe Staten is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Like, why would he have come back if he just didn't love Halo and care for Halo?
Right.
Now, clearly they offered him a lot of money to do it, but like, he'd have wanted to do it himself. And he's a good example. If you get some more people in, like Joe, who they seem to march at. Poor Joe. They seem to march him out every time there's bad news. You can see it in his face.
So bad for the guy.
No, you can see it in his eyes though. He's giving us a look. And it's not a help me look. It's a stick with me look. Like, I'm doing my best. Like, it's that's self-belief in that man's eyes.
Right.
You know, I personally, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe it when I see it. I think I know the look. I can see that guy is looking at us like,
really
come on,
hard.
guys.
It's really hard to save a sinking ship. But I look at like Itsuno when he took over Devil May Cry 2. I don't know if you guys know the story about that. That game was a disaster, and he did the best he could, and he couldn't quite turn it around. But that same guy got put in charge of Devil May Cry 3, Devil May Cry 5, two best games in the franchise, right?
Yeah.
Arguably.
100%.
So, you know, it's not necessarily... That's why it's really hard to pin anything on Joe in this situation. It's like, yeah, he's coming in here and
it's not
he's
Joe's
doing
fault.
the best he can. Clearly, I mean, he got here, like I said, basically when this game was already supposed to be out.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
who knows what kind of situation he inherited?
Well, regarding the situation of 343, and maybe this is a sensitive subject, so like, feel free to not engage with certain questions. Or so I know you were part of the Forerunner program, and there was, I mean, a lot of the Forerunners were, and I myself, like, you know, I did it. I'm not proud I did it. It was just a visceral reaction at the time that I thought, well, how did these figureheads are YouTubers? Because remember, these are like the people that, not just that we've elected, but that have elected themselves in the community as saying, I want to say something here. How did the game come out in that state with the Forerunner Pro? So say what you need, say whatever you need to say, or don't say whatever will compromise you. But I'd like to hear just even a little bit.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
the Forerunner program.
I definitely can't talk about like, well, here's the kind of stuff we were talking about. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't get into that. I think, just speaking generally, I specifically went into the program as being somebody that was already pessimistic. And so it was easier for me to remain pessimistic if it was necessary to do so. And, you know, Halo being good isn't like a requirement for my job. You know, like first of all, I don't even do YouTube full time, but I slightly understand why some people would be optimistic, because if the game's good, that's going to be very good for them.
Yes.
So I definitely understand why some people would come into Infinite thinking, you know, yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm excited. There's good things here or whatever. If you thought so, I can understand some of the enthusiasm that came from the Forerunner program. I would say that, you know, what we talked about, primarily multiplayer focused. We gave, you know, feedback. We played the game. I was there for a few years. Some people came a year later. I'll definitely say that truly, I mean this, I'm allowed to say this, you know, I felt like changes were made. I felt like quite a bit of feedback was listened to, but at the same time, we're not in active development. We're not there like every day. Our influence truly isn't that great.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's some things that we didn't even know about, right? There's some things that we had no idea that was happening. There's a lot of information that was withheld from us as well, and I unfortunately can't delve into what I knew and what I didn't know. But it's kind of frustrating in that sense where it's like, hey, we didn't know. Like when the delay happened, we didn't know that delay was happening. There's just a lot of stuff where, we weren't. I don't think we're as powerful as some was saying, but this idea that like there were all these bad things happening and then nobody said anything or we gave our stamp of approval on it. It's just not true.
Yeah,
it's really good to hear that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I know some people on my channel, at least, when they saw the Forerunner business and the names on it, they were kind of disappointed because they were like, this means that essentially there's going to be a gag order on the biggest names in Halo YouTube in an attempt of toxic positivity. So I'm kind of glad that you've addressed that. You know what I mean?
There was no gag order at all. We were allowed to say literally whatever we wanted to say. Okay. You could argue that just the influence of the program might scare people from saying something bad. Right. But there was no like in writing, you're not allowed to say this. Literally from day one, the understanding was if you don't like something, you can say it literally the very second it becomes public knowledge. Okay. So the second you knew something, Roni, or you knew something weapons grade, I could say something about it. There was no, hey, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. If it's something that's out there and it's public, we could say whatever we wanted. Me being negative anyway, I had no problem doing that because it's like, hey, you brought me here, me being who I am. Why the fuck am I all of a sudden going to start, being positive about stuff I'm not actually positive on? Now I totally get, hey, there are some people who are more positively inclined. They might have a sense of optimism, right? Where they might be a little more inclined to be positive. And say high things, especially when you get in there and you build relationships with people and you put a face to these people and
that's the problem.
You get empathy there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I, out of respect for them, continue to kind of hammer it home. I feel like it's appreciated, my feedback. So I actually think they do a pretty good job of respecting negative criticism. I mean, they brought me on and I might have been the token guy, truthfully, who knows?
Of negativity.
It's just like, we got to get at least somebody in here that's not a fan. And I don't think I would be, I don't think I was the only one. There's definitely other people who are pretty good.
Question,
yeah, go ahead.
That was going to be a question I was going to ask you was, you think you were the token guy for, and I hate the whole thing, like negativity. You were the guy that was providing objective criticism with examples. You took a very scientific approach, to be honest, to the whole situation. Whereas, as you said previously in this conversation, a lot of people weren't able to name why they thought something was good or why something was bad, and you could put your finger on exactly why, with actual examples of why this is good, why this is bad. Do you think that the majority of the Forerunner Council were chosen because, some were lore guys who were always just going to love the lore, and then some were people that just literally thought, like, they can do no wrong here, and I'm just happy to be a part of this ship. Do you think that was the situation?
That's a good question. I think I can provide some decent insight on that. So the way that it was constructed was they very specifically wanted each individual to offer a different perspective. Like they didn't want a bunch of me's, they didn't want a bunch of, whatever. So they had a pro, right? They had Nated was on there for a little bit. I mean he was just on there. So, we had a pro, we had like a really good streamer, like with Vetoed. We had like a variety streamer. Then we'd have a lore guy. Then we'd have me, which was like they called me like a sandbox gameplay, whatever. Like that was the angle I looked at it from.
Yeah, that's cool.
you
That
had
is
like
cool, yeah.
different kind of perspectives, and that way, instead of just everybody is only concerned about the gameplay, it was like, okay, well, we're going to introduce a feature, and how does the gameplay guy think about that? But does somebody who maybe only cares about the story, is it something that immediately jumps out to them as a negative or a positive? So there was kind of all of these different backgrounds and all of these different disciplines or sections of the community that they found them in. And so then when they presented an idea, it wasn't just, oh, we have the best of the best here as far as gameplay people, or the best of the best players, which I certainly wouldn't have been. It's
Right.
hey, what is maybe a little voice from each side have to say about this one thing? And also important to point out is that we were highly discouraged from influencing one another.
Okay.
Like I couldn't, for instance, hear something and then go into like a big deep explanation to somebody who maybe didn't understand it. Right? Like, hey, I don't think it's good. This person thinks it's good. We couldn't necessarily like, well, let me break it down for you, because they didn't want me influencing feedback. They didn't want anybody
Right.
influencing anybody's feedback. They really wanted it to be
Very
like this
interesting.
pure thing where they could kind of conglomerate and build this kind of, I don't know, it's probably like an algorithm or something.
Yeah,
where they're
does
like,
that not
we have
sound
a
disjointed to you though? Like, for me, that sounds like they weren't trying to reach consensus overall.
No. There was no. It wasn't trying to reach consensus. Now, basically, the way it worked, right, is if they had something that I didn't like, and they're like, okay, well, fuck it. I mean, he doesn't like anything, right? But then the war person was like, yeah, I don't like that either. They're like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what that is in particular? But as far as if they kept everybody's voice kind of separate, they were able to determine, nobody's influencing each other. They're not getting together as a true council and coming up with an idea of what's best. They're literally just giving their opinion with the current understanding of the game that they have.
Okay.
And do I think that was the best way of doing it? Absolutely not. I think we should have been able to talk more. But it is kind of important to know that like we weren't sitting there and like coming up with a consensus like a jury. We really were kind of relegated to our own personal feedback, and not really able to influence anybody within the council.
It's very, very interesting because I imagine some kind of a 12 Angry Men scenario in there with the Forerunner Council, everyone just slamming tables saying, no, this is the, like the coffee cups, people coming in with coffee and snacks and stuff. Like, we're closing these doors for 10 hours until we reach a consensus on, whether or not that we want the BR to have, XYZ feature or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's quite interesting, and from the onset, like I would have a lot of that. It doesn't sit right with me the way that format. It doesn't.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. Ultimately, and this is just me speaking off the cuff, if I brought a bunch of people together, I'd want everybody to voice their opinion and share with each other. Like it kind of felt like we just made like our declaration, or we would say our opinion if it was even a situation where we were together, where we'd say our opinion and then it would go to the next person, and then we couldn't necessarily bounce anything back and forth off one another. At least not to the degree where you could really like get into a nitty gritty conversation and truly kind of work out the bones of whatever problem or whatever topic we were discussing.
Yeah. But I'm just curious, how did this all, if you can talk about it, like how did it all form together? Like they came to you at some point in Halo Infinite's development and was like, hey, what's going on, man? We need you to help us out here. Yeah,
so I was contacted and it was super vague, and they were basically just like, hey, we have an opportunity. We're interested in you, talking to us about something. And I said, okay, yeah, sure, cool. And you had to go through the spiel, the NDA and whatever. And then, it was basically kind of like I guess you could say like a recruitment for the program, where they talk to you a little bit. They kind of lay out what you're going to be seeing. They didn't tell you anything about the game. but just, hey, this is kind of what we want you to do. You can kind of ask questions at the time, and yeah, I was selected in, and I'm still there. I'm still there.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing program as well.
It is an ongoing program, correct?
And how long? How often do they meet? Is that have you met
I can't
since
really.
Infinite,
I can't
or?
say like specifically. Okay. I will say that I can say that frequency has declined quite a bit. So we were far more active early on.
That's not good.
Yeah, well, no, it's just because it's kind of out in the open now. You know what I mean? Like we're not necessarily. There's nothing like super crazy to give feedback on, I guess. Like, yeah, I would say I haven't really given feedback in a while. It's still ongoing. They're keeping us kind of there if they want to run something by us. And I obviously can't talk about anything like that, but I can say that the frequency has shifted, especially since the pilot program came about. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that's basically just kind of their large scale flighting program. And once that came to be, our role was definitely kind of
diminished, I suppose.
Diminished a little bit, yeah.
It's really, that's I think the most information anyone has heard about this Forerunner program. I've looked at pretty much every Forerunner. I've tried to find any details that I can about even just simple little details about what you talked about, what the actual structure and format was of it. Seems to be a general, not unwillingness, but I suppose the thought that it doesn't really matter now, does it? But it does, because we want to know what the creators are saying and what we're discussing, and how the feedback is taken in, like giving feedback and how it's processed is really how to me how it matters.
Yeah, like they called it smart feedback, and we're allowed to talk about that. You know, smart feedback is what Microsoft uses a lot, and smart feedback is that super highly curated, personal, as influenced or as minorly influenced as possible, where people are just like, from their current knowledge base, what they're saying. So again, do I have criticisms of that? Yes, but I do think it's important to realize that we weren't sitting there with a consensus. We all had a different idea, and those ideas were relatively unopposed at the time, or relatively isolated as far as, we weren't going back and forth very much there.
Can you give a specific example as to how the program has had a positive impact on Halo Infinite?
No.
Okay.
I can't.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Fair, yeah. It's unfortunate, but it is fair enough. You don't want to get sued by Microsoft.
Yeah,
that's, right. That would ruin your life over Halo. That's not. We don't want you to do that.
Ideally, it would have been just knowing that they're listening, right? Just knowing, like, hey, they got these guys in here, and they're trustworthy and they're helping. But unfortunately, because the game turned out the way it did, I do feel like the program's probably become vilified. And
it was how it was announced, Favyn. That's it was announced on the day of what I believe was it was announced on the day that Infinite came out. At the end of the game, like here are the people that helped us. And for a lot of people, not knowing the involvement beforehand, just if anyone in Microsoft or 343 is listening to this, if you've gotten this far. That is what did damage in the community. I'd say myself and Weapons Grade and yourself have a fairly good insight to really how the community will flip out, and when they'll flip out, and what kind of details will force one of these flip out events to happen. A fracture event, as they like to say in Infinite. It's this type of thing. That it's a transgression. It really is. And
unfortunately, that's not something that we knew about either. That's, in fact, that I was operating under the impression for the majority of the time that our existence would be known quite a bit beforehand. So it was frustrating that, we kind of just had to keep not announcing it. Not that we couldn't say anything publicly. I mean, once the game was out and about, they showed that campaign demo. It was like, all right, let's get to it. We can talk about it. So it's not that we couldn't speak about it, but it just kind of, like you said, it felt like because it came out the day the game came out, it felt like that was always the plan, because that is just coincides so often. And it wasn't. There was never like a concrete, this is when it's happening, but I was definitely under the impression that it would be known at some point beforehand. And it just didn't work out that way.
I don't think you come across as disingenuous about it, but I can't honestly say that about other members of that council who acted surprised seeing gameplay reveals and things like that. And I think that's what rubbed the community the wrong way. And it's why why I even mentioned the Forerunner Council in the first place, is that there is and I think Microsoft needs to understand that there is an honesty obligation here, that you have to be forthcoming, that these people are working alongside you, as you said, in a minimal capacity, but still working alongside you, so that your own relationships with the community aren't in any way tarnished. And if that had been known well in advance, I guarantee you that feedback would have been given to individual creators that would have then, your next council meeting, everyone would have had something to share about concerns from the community. Yeah. And it would have helped push the game in a better direction.
I agree. It would have been, like I kind of see what you're saying, like almost like ambassadors, right? Where you have these different voices that are known to be a part of this game that's in development, which happens all the time in the industry. You see that with plenty of different games. And just knowing that, like, hey, this person's saying what they're saying,